What's going on, everyone? This is Cadman Cycling. Hope you're having a great day. Back again for another Zwift race. Today we're in Innsbruck. This is the 3R Innsbruck Ring Flat race. 2 laps around Innsbruck means twice up the Legsnapper for a total elevation gain of 154 meters across 17.6 kilometers or 10.9 miles. All categories racing together today, just started in different pens. So I'm in category C. Started fast because was kind of starting to play the strategy of maybe catching on to the tails of some of the B riders, but as it turned out in this race, categories A and B started from a different pen, which is normal, but their pen was actually a decent distance in front of where the C's started. So because they're already faster riders, but then adding on to that they started a little bit further ahead, really made this solely a category C race for the most part. Sometimes when you get all the categories together, a good strategy for C riders can sometimes be to jump on, like I said, the tails of A and B riders, see how far you can kind of hang on with them, knowing you won't make it to the finish, but knowing that kind of any extra minute you can stick with them is time you're gaining on other C riders. So was kind of playing that strategy at the start because I'd been burned by it before, but the way the pens were aligned for this race kind of avoided that strategy or made it null. As you can see here, we're largely a C group, which is actually nice. It's nice to be riding mostly other riders around your level and racing solely against them. So along the way, there will be some Ds that either ride with us or catch up to us. As we see, there's one out front here. We'll also pick up some B riders that kind of fell off the main B group ahead of us, but essentially this becomes a category C race. So Innsbruck is one of my favorite courses. My favorite's probably Crit City, and then Innsbruck is a fun one to do every once in a while as well. Key feature being the Legsnapper. It's called the flat race, which is kind of interesting. To be honest, 95% of it is extremely flat, but then you have the Innsbruck Legsnapper, which is about a minute long climb, maybe a little bit longer, about 400 meters uphill with an average slope, I think around 8%. I could be wrong there, but definitely the key feature of the course. I think most riders who join this race know that as well. So generally the flats are kind of easier around here. Riders aren't pushing quite as hard, knowing that they need to save energy for that Legsnapper, because that's where all the moves get made. That's where kind of the front group will split. And that's where the race will be decided. So this is a 2-lap race, so we're going up the Legsnapper twice. And the Legsnapper is at the end of the lap. So if it's about an 8-kilometer lap, the Legsnapper is in kind of the last third, last quarter. And then it's kind of a sprint to the finish line from there. So this is still the first lap, kind of just starting to get our group in here. This is the front group of C's. There's a few B's that we're catching up to as well, but again, not going crazy hard because everyone was kind of saving their energy. So I went ahead and skipped forward. We're now 5 kilometers into the race, and this is where we get to the first time up the Legsnapper. This is the pain that you guys have all been waiting for, and it's definitely important to be near the front of this group. Every time up the Legsnapper is different, so it's kind of tough because you have to be ready for everything. So generally going into the start of the climb, I try to be in the front of the group. You'll always have a couple riders off the front sprint early. You'll have some riders drop off the back, so you really never know how it'll work. So it's nice to be up near the front just so you can kind of see what's going on and make any moves that you need to. So I'm pushing it hard up this climb. Heart rate's almost at 190. Kind of go between standing up on the pedals and sitting down maybe once or twice throughout this climb. I've been kind of between 4 watts per kilogram all the way up to 7. Definitely pushing it hard. It's still the first lap, but I feel good. I want to make sure that when this split happens, I want to make sure that I'm in the front group of C's. So I may have put in a little too much energy to make sure that would happen, but again, I felt good. That's a place where it's so easy to get dropped, and I didn't want that to happen. So still very spread out. There's a C that's 7 seconds ahead now. There's 3 of us together as I hit the super tuck down on the way down, trying to save energy, let the heart rest a little bit along with the legs. There's this rider 5 seconds off the front, C rider, and then it's me, another C here, and another B. So we'll try to start pushing it to catch that lone rider off front. Again, it's still very early in the race, only 6 kilometers in, as another C rider has joined the group. So I bring up the watts to make sure I can kind of fill this group in. We can start moving a little faster and see if we can catch the rider ahead of us. See if it'll all come back together. And a lot of times it does. That's the other interesting strategy about this Legsnapper is it's really the only time I see in short races where groups further back will be able to catch a front group. And it turns out that's actually exactly what happened here. So going up the Legsnapper, I kind of made the front split of maybe 4 or 5 C's and a few B's that are all kind of spread out still a little bit on the way down here, but ultimately will form a group back together. So there's maybe 5 of us up front, but then there was a chase group of B's and C's that were kind of, they didn't make that front group off the top of the Legsnapper climb, but because they were a larger group and they worked together, they were able to kind of go at a faster rate of speed and actually caught us before we even started the second lap. So if you look at the top right screen, you can actually see that big blob of green and blue starting to catch us. And that's exactly what they did. So looking back at it, I probably did put in a little bit of extra energy on the Legsnapper that I didn't need to put out, just because I didn't have to make the front group at the top of the climb, even at the bottom of the climb, to eventually make the front group going into the second lap. So what I'm saying is we do get caught by that second group of C's, could have put in less energy to just stay with that second group. But at the time, I had no way of knowing that. So I made the decision to put in the extra energy, made the front group here, but we ultimately do get caught. That's fine. Kind of just a good status checkpoint here, almost halfway into the race. Heart rate's at 184 beats per minute. Now up to 189, so I did go ahead and skip forward. Now in the second lap, getting close to the second time up the Legsnapper climb. Legs starting to hurt a little bit, but again, just like every other Zwift race, that's the case, especially with these shorter ones. There's really no breaks, it feels like. Innsbruck is definitely more flat, so it feels like you can do a bit more coasting while you're in the pack. Not always coasting, but kind of soft pedaling through some of these flats. It's not like Crit City with the constant undulations. So definitely the speed slows down during the flat areas because people know what's coming up, and that's the Legsnapper. So here we are, second lap, and again, we only have just over 4 kilometers to go here. We still have the Legsnapper climb coming up, so large front group. This is the front group of C's. So I'm exactly where I want to be. I'm in this front group. As we get closer to this Legsnapper coming up, though, I do want to start making my way to the front of this pack. And I believe that's exactly what I do. So I kind of spiked up to 300 watts for a second there. Just want to make sure I'm at the front. So I know this climb is about to decide the race. So I am generally where I want to be. I don't need to be in the front going into this, but I can see all the riders in front of me. Heart rate's high going in. I was around 190. Was definitely starting to feel it, but it was later in the race. So again, just upping the watts. I'm at 300 watts. I really want to hold that steady if I can. Even higher really is what it'll take, as this is kind of like you got to put all your energy in here, because there will be some time to super tuck and coast on the way down. So I find myself soft pedaling there. I kind of dropped under 200 watts. Now I'm back up to 400 watts. Really not being consistent. I think I was really hurting here. Heart rate's around 195, but man, watts back below down 200. Just really yo-yoing too much between 200 watts and now back above 400. Didn't keep it quite as consistent as I would like. So here I am, I'm hurting, but I know what position I'm in. I kind of put in one final dig back over 400 watts over the top of the hill, but I'm really in a bad position now. I have probably 7 or 8 riders ahead of me. Going into this downhill, I'm kind of on my own here. If I had my group of riders here to super tuck down, we could possibly catch back on the group in front of us. Here my rider doesn't even super tuck. I'm not sure if you guys can hear that, but there's a thunderstorm going on in the background, so definitely interesting weather this time of year. A lot more indoor riding, but my rider doesn't have the speed to super tuck here. Unfortunately, that group in front just kept such a high rate of speed that they're kind of away. Now they're 7, 8 seconds ahead. I have one rider kind of start to pass me, so I pick the speed up back up to 250, 300 watts, really just doing anything I can. We're now less than 3 kilometers left to go. It's really a sprint to the finish at this point. It's all either downhill or flat, no more climbs. But I'm hurting, and it really hurts on that Legsnapper. I mean, I was feeling pretty decent going into it. Just didn't quite keep the consistency up the climb, and that's what ultimately kind of let that front group get away. So went ahead and skipped forward to just less than a mile left, just over a kilometer, and I found this group of 2 other C's. So there's about 5 or 6 C's that made it off the front, and have quite a large lead here. So going into the finish, it's the 3 of us. Still near the front of the C race, not contesting the win, but still an important sprint we have here. So that rider in front of us is a B rider that's 4 seconds ahead. So it's really just me and these 2 other riders, Pink Tron bike, and then A Edwards from Ireland. So I'm exactly where I want to be. Again, legs are hurting, heart rate's high. That second Legsnapper just took so much out of me. And I really wanted to be in the front group, just wasn't able to stay with them at the top of that Legsnapper and on the way down. So now it comes down to this sprint. I want to improve my positioning as much as I can, if I can beat these 2 other riders. So I definitely want to stay behind them for the time being, and I want to go early. So this sprint isn't for the win, so I do kind of want to use it as a learning experience too. I want to make sure I'm not going too late. So this is really the perfect opportunity to practice for when I am contesting the finish. So going to go early. We're at half a kilometer left, now 0.4. I want to make sure by the 300 meter mark I'm sprinting. I'm exactly where I want to be, not in the lead yet. I kind of soft pedal for a few seconds before the sprint to see if I can actually get to the 3rd wheel in this group. It wasn't possible. Everyone else was kind of going slow. I was at 280 meters, so just decided to step on it. Again, wanted to practice going a little bit early. See how long I can hold that sprint wattage too. Since I usually don't go from this far out. I was able to get a gap, but I wanted to kind of keep the pedal down for as long as I could. Was able to cross the line ahead of both of them. So guys, thanks for watching. These Innsbruck races are a lot of fun. The Legsnapper is just such a unique feature to have in a course. So I enjoyed it. 53rd in a all category race. So had a lot of fun, also trying to gain endurance. So thanks for being here, guys. If you enjoy these, please subscribe, leave a like. It helps me out a lot. But until next time, this is Cadman Cycling, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.